How's it going, everybody? Chaotic Meatball here, and I want to welcome you to a monotype hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond using only poison types. The rules are on screen and fairly simple, but while you read those, let me give you a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on any of our fun content, like the video, and leave a comment with suggestions for other videos. So this challenge is going to be quite the doozy, since there's only 8 encounters we can get, and only 7 of them can fully evolve, with Zubat, Budew, Croagunk, Skorupi, Wurmple, Ghastly, Stunky, and Tentacool, and because according to my rules, I can't connect to other games, so Ghastly will only make it to a Haunter. It's still a respectable special attacker though, so I think we'll make do. Anyway, let's get right into the game. Unfortunately for me, none of these starters evolve into a poison type, so I figured I'd choose Turtwig here to give me the most non-offensive starter to deal with throughout the run, that being the Firefighting Infernape. There's a few things I need to run through before I can get my first 2 encounters though, but after getting past these avoidable trainers on Route 204, I can head into the Ravaged Path to capture Zubat, nicknaming it Vipros, and onto Route 204 itself, I can capture Budew, naming it Ruddy. You know, like Ruddy Rose Dragon, the stupidest translation of a Yu-Gi-Oh card I've ever seen. Well, after my experience with a Water-type hardcore Nuzlocke on my own channel, which I'd suggest checking out after you finish watching this one, I know battles later on in the game are very difficult, so EV training from the get-go is going to be a high priority. So I brought both of my Pokemon back to Route 201 to get some HP and Speed EVs from the Wild Bidoof and Starly respectively. Primarily the latter, seeing as I want Crobat to be a physical sweeper, and Roserade to be a special sweeper later on. After all, slaughtering your opponents is a great defense, since they can't hit you at all. Both of these Pokemon also evolve with Friendship, so running around in circles like crazy is pretty imperative before I can challenge my rival on Route 203. He leads off with Starly, and since it doesn't have any flying moves yet, I went with Budew, immediately going for Stun Spore to hold him from being able to attack too much, since I've got to set up a few growths before he stacks up the damage. I'm able to get 4 off before I feel that I've taken too much damage to risk anything else, going for Absorb, then on out, taking out Starly in 3 hits and leading to Chimchar. Despite both of his Pokemon resisting Grass, Budew's +4 Absorb is enough to put down Chimchar as well, seeing as I'm able to basically outpace him from damage yielded, so I get my first win. There's nothing much stopping us other than the level cap, so after hitting level 14, I'm ready to challenge Roark. Unfortunately for me though, I didn't get enough Friendship to evolve Budew into Roselia before this fight, but Absorb should be able to run through his rock types pretty handily with growth assistance. Roark leads with Geodude, so I go with Budew's growth once again, getting 2 off as Geodude goes for Stealth Rock, nothing I'll be worried about since I'm not swapping into Zubat, but he does hit a strong rollout, which I'm able to heal completely with Absorb, taking him out. Second is Onix, and this thing has Sturdy, which is a bit worrisome in a post-Gen 5 environment where I can't one-shot this thing. But after being slower and taking a rock throw, I'm able to heal it off with Absorb, forcing Roark into using a potion, which doesn't fully heal Onix, so I can get 1 more growth off, finishing it with an Absorb next turn. Last out is Cranidos, and I'm not sure if it can one-shot Budew with Headbutt, but I still take the risk, going for Absorb. Fortunately, he just wastes the turn with Leer, but Cranidos is the only thing on his team to hang on from Absorb due to being just a rock type. But Roark just once again goes for a potion, sealing his fate as another Absorb takes out Cranidos, winning me the Coal Badge. Now that the level cap has increased to 22, we've got 2 new encounters opened for us, but I can't get those until I take care of Team Galactic over in the Valley Windworks with Mars at the helm. She's a bit worrisome, so after training my Budew to level 17, I figured I could take her down at this point. Mars leads with her own Zubat, so I reciprocate, outspeeding and using Astonish in the attempt to flinch her out of the game, which doesn't work for the turn, but she does miss with Supersonic. It's only 55% accurate, so it misses again next turn as Astonish hits, and we repeat this once again, though she starts firing back with Astonish on the 3rd turn, attempting Supersonic on the 4th and missing again. Her own Astonish lands on the 5th turn, but by the 6th, I've hit enough Astonishes with Zubat to take hers down, leaving just Purugly. Since Zubat has Inner Focus, I wanted to make sure to keep it in to absorb her Fake Out and attempt to Toxic Poison her with Poison Fang, but it doesn't quite get the job done, so I stay in for another turn, trying again after my Oranberry activates, managing to both get a critical hit and poison her, but booting Zubat out the rest of the fight. I've got to swap over to Budew, but thanks to also having an Oranberry, Purugly's not able to do enough damage with Scratch to take me out, as Absorb and the poison damage does her in, as well as her own idiotic idea to go for Growl rather than another Scratch, but hey, I don't control the AI. With that win, I'm able to head up to Route 205 and into the Eterna Forest, where my third encounter resides. I've got to get a Wurmple that evolves into Cascoon, since the Beautifly side of the evolution line doesn't exactly have the poison type, and thankfully I don't have to waste too much time here, since my first Wurmple does evolve into Cascoon, and then into Dustox shortly after. I named it Necros and moved into Eterna City, where my fourth encounter awaited. However, it's not in the city itself. After receiving the Explorer Kit, I'm able to head into the Grand Underground and find myself a Krogunk from the swamp area, naming it Longkua. At this point, I was still unsure as to how I wanted to handle the Grand Underground, since I was equating it to the Wild area in Sword and Shield, where every biome was its own area, so I limited myself to one per badge. Not that it matters, since there's only one more encounter I'm interested in here, so we'll grab that after Gardenia. Since her level cap is 22, this is conveniently the level that Zubat evolves into Golbat, giving me essentially a free win button against her. Gardenia starts off with Cherubi, which Golbat immediately rips through thanks to Poison Fang, with Turtwig taking the field. Poison Fang is once again the choice, but it doesn't quite one-shot Turtwig, poisoning it as it sets up Reflect. This does weaken Poison Fang considerably, but that's fine, as after a potion, 2 more Poison Fangs and the poison damage takes the turtle down, leaving just Roserade. I kind of forgot to grab the TM for Pluck from Floroma Town before this fight, so I'll have to make do with the neutral Poison Fang. Not that it matters though, since Roserade just can't hurt Golbat due to being quad resistant to grass moves, so I just wail on her with Poison Fang, getting paralyzed in the process, but even that's not enough to stop Golbat from beating her ace, winning me the fight and the Forest Badge. Not to mention, Golbat evolved into Crobat at level 23, giving me a true powerhouse for this early in the game. Before heading into the Galactic Eterna headquarters, it's time to take a trip back into the Grand Underground, this time visiting the volcano area to capture Skorupi, the last encounter I'll need down here for the rest of the game, which I nicknamed Scorpius. I have also got access to Cut outside of battle, so the old chateau is the place I want to go, grabbing a Ghastly to fill out the last slot of my team before going into the HQ, naming it Zvox. None of the trainers necessarily give me any trouble, but Jupiter is a bit worrisome with her early Skuntank. She leads off with Zubat, so I reciprocate once again with my fully evolved Crobat, using the Astonish strategy from the fight against Mars, but this time Supersonic does manage to land on the second turn. I swapped to Cross Poison though, taking out Zubat next turn as Skuntank takes the field. Crobat snaps out of confusion the turn it comes in as we fire off Cross Poison, doing the same amount of damage as her Flamethrower, but thanks to her Citrus Berry, we start getting out-tempoed in terms of damage, but a critical hit helps even things out once again. She continues using Snarl for 3 turns to lower our unused special attack, but after Crobat goes into the deep yellow, it's time to swap out into Krogunk. Flamethrower does under half, so I figured I'd try to take her out with a Revenge, but she does manage to get a critical with Flamethrower next turn, taking out Krogunk and leading to the first death of the run. I went back to Crobat to try to take it out with Cross Poison, which does manage to work, though Aftermath takes Crobat dangerously low to KO territory. Losing Krogunk was just the start of a chain of sloppy mistakes, since I then kept losing random Pokemon to random trainers that I was either attempting to dodge or equalize EXP since on my team it's so awkwardly leveled. Ghastly ended up going down to a Ponyta and Cycling Road, and losing both of those caused me to reset the run, despite getting to Salacion Town with the rest of the team intact. I can't be having 2 losses before the 3rd gym when I only have 8 encounters. I know I'll end up making dumb mistakes again, and I've got to make sure that they're later on in the run instead of here. So, attempt number 2 was a little bit different. Firstly, I made sure to EV train hard, avoiding Bidoof on Route 201 and only fighting Starly, using all of my beginning money on potions rather than excess Pokeballs, so that I'd have more items to use to increase Bidoof's friendship, as well as getting a pack of 3 pickup Pachirisus from the Valley Windworks. And while they can't be used in battle, they can pick up a Shiny Stone once they reach level 11. Not to mention they can get other items like Power Herbs, White Herbs, PP Ups, and Leftovers, so these things are definitely helpful starting out. Lastly, this time I had Barry choose Piplup so that he'd end up with a Steel type Empoleon at the end. I figured making this harder if I was going to EV train would make sense. Sadly, I did sort of forget to grab Krogunk before fighting Gardenia, so I'll have to wait another badge to get Skorupi, but that's no problem, since I still can get Stunky on Route 206 underneath Cycling Road, giving me a nice Dark type to add on to the team. Skipping ahead to Hearthome, we've got another rival battle to take care of against Barry, and he starts with Starly at level 19. Kind of surprised that this isn't a Staravia yet, but that makes it all the more easy to KO with Crobat's Cross Poison, leading into Prinplup. Crobat outspeeds and nails Cross Poison for over half, poisoning as well, and letting me pick up the KO with Pluck after he wastes his turn with Stealth Rock, leaving half of his team remaining. Third out is Ponyta, another easy KO with Cross Poison, leaving just Roselia to fall to a single Pluck, winning me the fight. I'm sure you also noticed I have my own Roselia now. I actually evolved Badoo before the fight with Mars to make that part of the game easier, which definitely helped since that first fight against her was really sketchy at best. Nothing's really in my way between here and Veilstone but a few required trainers, so I just ran through them, heading into Veilstone to grab some super good TMs. U-turn stab on Dustox, as well as having it for Crobat as a physical attacker, feels pretty good. The fact that Roselia can get Dazzling Gleam for coverage against Dragon types later on, Psychic being a great TM for Dustox as well, this place is just a fun house. I also checked the moveset of Crobat while I was here, and it can get Sunny Day, so I might employ a Sunny Day U-turn combo into Roserade with Solar Beam, but that'll have to be later. Carrying on, most of my money is going towards vitamins, since I'm wanting to get my new Pokemon as many EVs as possible, and maxing out on things like Crobat and Roselia is going to be paramount for the next two gyms. Also, Crobat has an adamant nature. It's perfect, and I can't say anything bad about it. Two more things before we take on the doubleheader of Maylene and Crasher Wake, and actually no, that's more like 5 things. Sky and Mind Plates, Shiny Stone, Ghastly Encounter, and Special Attack EVs on Ghastly, Dustox, and Roselia. Now normally the first of those is only available at the Pokemon League, but I managed to mine one up from the Grand Underground in pretty decent time. The Mind Plate is in the Salacion Ruins, just a hop and a skip to find that. The Shiny Stone is obtainable from pickup like I said earlier, so I slapped my Pachirisus into the party, and headed over into the old chateau, grabbing myself my Ghastly Encounter and began work on my EVs, training Roselia halfway through level 29 so that it wouldn't go over the level cap for either leader, since they both have level 30 aces, Dustox, and Ghastly itself of course. I think the game decided to go a little overboard though, since it interpreted me looking for a Shiny Stone as just looking for a shiny, giving me a shiny Ghastly in the old chateau. Well, I've never had this come up on my own channel, as I've never encountered a Pokemon that was shiny of the type I was doing my video for, so I guess we're enabling Shiny Claws in this run. After all, what's the likelihood of me getting a shiny in the type of what I'm using in the challenge? 1 in 4,096, and then 1 out of 18 types on top of that? Well, at least it helps that Ghastly's a 100% encounter here, but it was still a lucky find. During my training though, I did manage to score my Shiny Stone, evolving Roselia into Roserade, as well as Ghastly into Haunter, making me ready for the doubleheader. Maylene's up first, so I lead with my Skyplate boosted Crobat, KOing both Meditite and Machoke with a single Pluck each, leaving just Lucario. This thing doesn't have any Rock-type moves, so we just fight between Pluck and Metal Claw, with 2 Plucks, the second being a crit, doing Lucario in, winning me the fight handily. Wake's a little different since he does have Ice-type moves to combat Roserade, but it's still pretty doable. I can lead here with Haunter to take out Gyarados thanks to that Thunderbolt TM that was in the Veilstone Marketplace, KOing immediately and leading to Quagsire. Haunter's got Levitate, so I'm not worried about Mudshot, so I'm able to hit Confuse Ray, and Quagsire hits itself twice in a row, giving me a free swap into Roserade, KOing with Mega Drain and leaving just Floatzel. Since it's a decently heavy Pokemon, Grass Knot does a bit more damage than Mega Drain will, so after living through an Ice Fang on 25%, Roserade's able to blast through, KOing in one shot and winning me the Fen badge. Well, all this preparation certainly has been a help. 4 badges in and no deaths on attempt number 2. I'm in a good spot for sure. I've got to take on Barry again before I can start making my way towards Fantina, but that's relatively simple thanks to Haunter. Thunderbolt takes out Starly as well as Prinplup, Ponyta falls to 2 Hexes, and Roselia's a simple Psychic to take down. Haunter is definitely going to make any non-gym fight pretty trivial, so I'm in pretty decent shape. There's not much for me to do between now and Fantina, besides taking out all of the trainers that I skipped, so I just grabbed the Amulet coin from Amity Square and went on a tirade, getting so much money for vitamins that almost all of my Pokemon are completely EV trained, getting everyone to level 36 before Fantina. My plan here is to use my maxed out Haunter to just sweep with Shadow Ball throughout, but the only worry I have is Gengar, though it does only have Shadow Claw as its same type attack, a physical move that Gengar doesn't specialize in, so I should be fine. Fantina leads with Drifblim, and sure enough, it falls to Shadow Ball immediately, leading to Gengar second. It does outspeed, not exactly shocking, but Shadow Claw doesn't KO, instead only doing about 70%, so it goes down to 1 Shadow Ball. Last out is Mismagius, and it's the only ghost type that has a 2-turn attack in this team, so I can check if I outspeed using Shadow Ball, but Haunter doesn't, so I just swap out on the second turn of Phantom Force into Croagunk. It does under half, so I go for Sucker Punch, expecting it to do massive damage, but what I forgot is that Fantina has Dazzling Gleam, which is neutral to Croagunk only, KOing immediately. Well, he was only 1 level away from evolving, but that's fine. Skuntank's able to come in, and after a few turns and attempted confusion shenanigans, Sucker Punch is able to land, picking up the KO and the win. 5 badges down and only 1 Pokemon KO'd, I can't say that that's too bad. I didn't even intend on bringing Toxicroak into the league anyway, so I'm glad it's something expendable. As always, the gap between Gyms 5 and 6 in Sinnoh is pretty small, with the battles against both Barry on the Canalave Bridge and Gym Leader Byron being the only notable ones. Once again, Barry is a pretty easy fight thanks to Haunter, as I'm able to sweep from the get-go. Thunderbolt takes out Staravia, Psychic takes out Heracross, Thunderbolt takes out Prinplup, Shadow Ball takes out Ponyta, and Psychic takes out Roselia, outspeeding and one-shotting his entire team. Well, I wish I could say the same thing about Byron. I need a new Pokemon for this, since a Steel-type gym as a Poison-type user is going to be very difficult. And I've got just the thing. I can Repel Trick out a Tentacruel on Route 219 just like I did in my Water-type Nuzlocke, and fortunately, it's right at the level cap of 39, so I stuff it into my team, taking it out after gaining a bit of EXP on the gym trainers, then taking it back in once we're ready to fight Byron. I lead off with Haunter against his Bronzor, as Shadow Ball's an easy one-shot on it, leading to Steelix. I figure this thing is going to be a pain for my team, so I went for Confuse Ray in the hope that it hit itself and let Haunter take him down, which he does on the first turn, but a Shadow Ball still is quite short, taking him into the red and letting him set up Sandstorm, putting him in Hyper Potion range. He wastes 2 of them in the efforts to keep Steelix alive and well, but it eventually succumbs to Shadow Ball, leaving just Bastiodon. This thing doesn't have any ground moves, but it does have Stone Edge, a move that hits super hard at the risk of being only 80% accurate. So I swap for Roserade, tanking a Flash Cannon for about 25% before going for Mega Drain. It actually does a lot less than I expected, so I only heal a little, taking a Stone Edge with a little over half my remaining HP, so I figured why not go for Grass Knot. If he gets a crit, he gets a crit, but he misses, letting me get his Citrus Berry out of the way for free. One more turn of Grass Knot and Stone Edge puts Roserade at low yellow HP, so I swapped once again, this time for Skuntank since it's pretty bulky, taking a Stone Edge extremely well. I figured Flamethrower was my best bet here, and sure enough I did get the burn, sealing Bastiodon's fate as it went down to another next turn, winning me the fight. Very nice. I was a little worried about this fight, but after seeing a lack of ground-type moves on his Pokemon, it made me much more confident. The path to Candace has a few obstacles, namely Saturn and Mars, but this is just handled extremely quickly. Haunter's able to one-shot Saturn's Kadabra with Shadow Ball, Bronzor with Shadow Ball, and Toxicroak with Psychic, as well as Mars's Golbat with Psychic and Bronzor with Shadow Ball, leaving just her Purugly. Sadly for her, the game developers decided not to give Purugly Faint Attack in this generation, despite having it in the original Diamond and Pearl, so the only move she has to touch Haunter with is Aerial Ace, barely doing any damage as I take it out with 2 Psychics, winning me the match. Well, I hope Cyrus won't be as much of a pushover. After crossing through Mount Coronet and working through routes 216 and 217, it's time for Candace's gym, but here's where the problems start piling up. Sadly for me, both Roserade and Crobat overleveled for this gym. The former doesn't matter too much, as I already got its utility out of the gym trainers, but I was really hoping to use the latter to sweep with Fly, since Candace uses Snover, Medicham, and Abomasnow. But I'll have to stick with Haunter and Toxic Stall with Skuntank for this one. I also figured I'd pull back in my Shiny Haunter. After all, if I need a sack for this fight, this one's completely expendable. Candace actually starts very easy, as her Snover's a one-shot with Shadow Ball, Sneasel's a one-shot with Dazzling Gleam, which I replaced Thunderbolt, and Medicham falls to Shadow Ball as well, leaving just Abomasnow. While I'd love to sit here and attempt to flinch it with Dark Pulse, the hail being up means that Blizzard is 100% accurate, and that's going to destroy my main Haunter. So I swapped for Tentacruel, getting the hell out of dodge, but he goes for Aurora Veil. What does that do? Oh, it is an Ice-type dual screen in one turn. Well, that's broken, but I suppose I can outlast that by just using acid armor with Tentacruel to stand up for the likes of Earthquake, while also resisting Blizzard until the hail runs out. Tentacruel's unfortunately not able to outlast the hail though, one turn too soon, so I swap into my shiny Haunter in the attempt to sack it, but she actually goes for Giga Drain, letting me survive and get off a Confuse Ray before going down to Blizzard. So long, my shiny friend. Thank you for your sacrifice. After it goes down, Aurora Veil also goes away, so I feel free to swap into Skuntank, using Toxic to stack on with the Confusion. She misses Blizzard, which is great, so I can go for Night Slash for under half, popping her Citrus Berry after former President Obama Snow hits itself and poison damage takes effect. But it's not quite enough, getting it into full restore range. Yeah, full restore, not Hyper Potion, so I gotta risk another Toxic, and fortunately for me, she does miss with Blizzard again, giving me the last opportunity I need to fire off the Flamethrower, nailing and KOing the Big Bad Yeti for the win. That overleveling obviously screwed me up, but I'm glad that the Shiny Claws ended up helping here, though I bet grabbing Skorupi for this gym would have been a little bit more helpful. As per usual, now that we're done with the 7 gyms, it's time for the story to pull us in for a bit. There's 4 important battles between now and Freedom. Cyrus, Saturn, the double battle against Mars and Jupiter, and Cyrus again. So let's take them out rapid fire style. Cyrus is up first, so I go with Haunter, taking out his entire team with one-shots. Dazzling Gleam on Sneasel, Psychic on Golbat, and Dazzling Gleam on Murkrow. Much appreciated. Saturn is much of the same, as Kadabra feints to Shadow Ball, Bronzor also to Shadow Ball, and Toxicroak to Psychic. One Spear Pillar later, and it's double trouble time, and this battle's a little bit more complicated. My plan was to target Jupiter's side of the field, letting Mars' Bronzor look like an idiot while we whittled the other away, which did work for a bit, as both my Skuntank and Barry's Munchlax double targeted Jupiter's Bronzor, taking it out in one turn, leading to her own Skuntank. This is where it started going off the rails though, as my Skuntank was then confused, and Munchlax started using Bite on Mars's Bronzor, eventually hitting 4 of them to take it out, while my Skuntank was stuck fighting a mirror match with Flamethrower, burning Jupiter's Skuntank relatively quickly, but not taking it down before Mars's Purugly takes the field. I wanted to try not having these two together on the field, but now that I'm in this situation, I'm rushing to take down Skuntank, finishing it off with Night Slash and Munchlax's Body Slam, forcing Munchlax to go down due to the Aftermath ability. This at least makes my life easier, as all that's left for Jupiter is Golbat, which should be easy to take out. Barry sends in Staraptor, so I go for the swap in a Tentacruel. Close Combat does a near one-shot on Purugly, but not quite, leaving her to use Dig and Golbat to use Sludge Bomb. This isn't a problem though, as Dig lands on Tentacruel for less than half, allowing Staraptor to finish it off with Close Combat. Staraptor does end up going down to another Sludge Bomb, as Ice Beam from Tentacruel does about half to Jupiter's Golbat, but that just leaves the 2 Golbats on the field, with Jupiter's going down to a second Ice Beam. Now that we're on a 2-on-1 scenario, it's a hop and skip with Ice Beam, finishing the fight and this complicated mess of a battle to do commentary over. Seriously, I give the Pokemon VGC commentators kudos. They have a very hard job to do on the fly. Last Galactic fight is against Cyrus, once again, with a few evolutions and a new member added to the team. He leads off with Honchkrow, and since I can't swap the lead of my party, I just go Skuntank, landing a Toxic as he goes for Defog. I figured just wailing on this thing with Flamethrower while he hits me with ineffective moves, being soaked up by leftovers, but he ends up getting to healing range. Eventually, he just gets fed up and swaps for Gyarados, intimidating Skuntank, but I ended up going for Toxic that turn, giving me free poison against this nasty Leviathan. This is a good time to swap into Crobat though, seeing as this Gyarados has Earthquake, wasting a turn of his and stacking up more turns on the Toxic counter. And since Crobat has U-turn, I'm able to get the heck out of dodge again, going back into Skuntank, dodging Ice Fang in the process. This is repeated once again, with Cross Poison doing Gyarados in. He's still got 3 Pokemon left to deal with, but he goes back into Honchkrow to continue the stall fest, though it does go down to 2 Cross Poisons after wasting a turn with Defog. Third out is his own Crobat, and I think we've got the advantage despite our equal level, as Pluck does a third, and he goes for Tailwind, but next turn he reveals Air Cutter, showing that he's using a special attacking Crobat rather than a physical attacker, so I put it down with 2 more Plex to show him his mistake, leaving just Weavile. Hilariously enough, this thing doesn't even have an Ice-type move, so it goes for Aerial Ace as I hit U-turn, doing over half damage and getting back out of there, going into Skuntank as the Tailwind peters out. This is great, though Weavile is still faster, using Dig as I try to hit Flamethrower. Thanks to this being a 2-turn move though, I can just swap back out into Crobat, dodge it, and hit one more U-turn for the win. It's actually nutty how much damage this move can do in the right circumstances. One run away from Dialga later, and we're finally done. All that's left is Route 222 and getting into Sunyshore City's gym, the home of Volkner. Despite being known as the Electric-type gym leader of Sinnoh, his team from Diamond and Pearl was really interesting, seeing as he had both an Ambipom and Octillery to round out his team, as he does the same here, but will he be able to put up much of a fight? Well, let's find out. He leads off with Raichu, so I go with Skuntank, immediately getting hit with a Volt Switch that sends him packing into Ambipom, who gets poisoned off of Toxic. Fake Out comes out for some pretty high damage, so I figured I'd swap here, going into Haunter and taking a Thunderbolt for less than half. Ambipom's also faster, hitting a second Thunderbolt and nearly taking Haunter out, as well as giving it Paralysis, but I'm still able to fire off a Psychic for the KO, taking him down to 3 Pokemon. Out comes Raichu again, so I swap into Roserade, taking another Volt Switch after he misses the first one, going into Octillery. It seems like the gym leaders are programmed to never go into their ace unless it's their last Pokemon, so I figured he would attempt this, giving me free reign to set up a Growth and KO with Grass Knot, as Raichu comes in once more. One more Volt Switch is able to come through, sending in his Luxray and giving me a perfect chance to knock some sense into this thing, hitting Sludge Bomb for the near KO. If it weren't for his Citrus Berry, the poison damage would have KO'd, but that's fine as he's in healing range, though I do give it some thought. After all, he does outspeed, and if he sees the KO, it'll just take out my Pokemon, but am I being a little too worrisome? Probably. I decided to stay in, seeing the full restore and hitting another Sludge Bomb, getting a high roll this time and one-shotting, leaving just Raichu. I've also got a Cherry Berry equipped to Roserade, so in case Nuzzle comes my way, I won't be worrying about it, but it's not a problem as he misses with Charge Beam instead, letting me one-shot with Sludge Bomb, winning me the match and the final badge of the Sinnoh region. Alright, let's just jump right into the team and the league fights. I'm itching to get back at Cynthia for what she's done to me and countless others. Also, has anybody noticed that I haven't used any nicknames in this attempt? I'm starting to realize that nicknames are a completely superfluous rule that someone thought would be a good idea but actually adds no real value or impact on the game. So I figured, why use creativity when I can just ignore it? So, with one victory road trip under my belt, and a bunch of item collection and training to level 61, which easily gives me one over on Barry, seeing as the cap of 63 is way higher than his Pokemon that are barely hitting the upper 50s. He leads off with a Staraptor, so I go Haunter, throwing out a Thunderbolt to eat his Focus Sash as he has for some reason, then goes for Rain Dance. Well, that's one way to end a turn, so a second Thunderbolt takes him out as Snorlax takes the field. This is just a walking tank, so my only play is to swap into Skuntank, take a Yawn, and hit it with Toxic to start whittling it down during Skuntank's sleeping turns. But it turns out that Snorlax is an offensive creature as well. High Horsepower does a little over half to Skuntank, so swapping into Crobat is best, as High Horsepower is a Ground-type move, giving me a free turn to nail a Cross Poison, doing massive damage with a critical, and taking a Yawn. Sadly, Toxic damage isn't enough to KO, but Barry doesn't have any healing items, so U-turn finishes it off, leaving us at an empty field. I figured Tentacruel would be my safest choice while he sent out Roserade, not exactly what I wanted to see, but that's fine as Ice Beam nearly one-shots it. Tentacruel's doing some more work too, breaking through confusion for the turn to KO Roserade with a second Ice Beam. Half down and half to go as Heracross comes in and handles pretty much everything in my party except for Crobat, so I swap, see a Sword Stance, and pray that this 95% accurate fly can seal the deal. Sure enough, it does land next turn, taking it out and leaving just Empoleon and Rapidash. The former is in first, forcing my hand into U-turn as Crobat's got no real way of taking care of Steel types, letting me swap into Roserade, taking care of the monster with 2 Giga Drains after taking a Flash Cannon and a Charm. Last up, of course, is Rapidash, so I hard swap back into Crobat as Tentacruel's paralyzed and I'm not about to risk it here. Crobat unfortunately gets burned by Flame Wheel, having his attack, so I just U-turn on out of there, going into Haunter as my last resort. Flame Wheel does around a third next turn, but a single Shadow Ball is finally able to finish him off, winning me the last fight before the league. And this is the team I'm going in with. I made sure to hunt for rare candies to push them up to exactly the level 63 level cap, and I'm ready to take on the world. The only thing I was considering before going into the league was replacing Dustox with Drapion, seeing as that early game bug just hasn't been useful whatsoever recently, but with Quiver Dance, I think I can pull off some neat stuff when paired with other Pokemon on the team. Last call to get predictions in the comments. Do you think I'm gonna win? If so, how many Pokemon do you think will go down during the league? Well, now that you've left your comment, let's find out. Aaron is the first in the league, and thanks to Crobat, he is piss easy, seeing as Fly one-shot Dustox, Beautifly, Heracross, and Vespiquen, leaving his own Poison Dark type in Drapion. Fly still one hell of a move though, two-shotting Drapion after a Night Slash only did around a third, winning me the fight. Well, I can't say that I'm disappointed. It's always a pleasure to see myself ripping through Elite Four members like that, especially when you've got insanely sound strategies like Flame Orb, Guts boosted Heracross working against you. Second up is Bertha, and Roserade's the perfect one for the job, as her team is essentially just a pile of one-shots. Quagsire falls to Giga Drain, as does Whiscash despite a held berry to reduce the power of Grass-type moves, and Sudowoodo, all before Golem comes out. This is the only Pokemon on her team with Sturdy, and while I was worried initially because of Earthquake, I wasn't too worried until I saw her go for Rock Polish. This makes Golem faster than Roserade, and 100% guaranteed to land a single attack on it before I can manage to KO. But after seeing a few full restores wasted on her, I'm pretty happy, finishing her off with a Giga Drain after taking a heavy slam, leaving just Hippowdon. After setting up Sandstream, Hippowdon just goes from 100 to 0 straight away due to Giga Drain, winning me the fight yet again. Type Advantage is very much helpful, but it's not going to necessarily be game-winning against Flint. Thankfully, I do have something to take care of most of his team in Tentacruel, but I'm going to have to play it smart, swapping my held item for the leftovers rather than the Wave Incense and going in. Flint starts with a Rapidash, and since this thing has only physical attacks and Hypnosis, I'm immediately going for Acid Armor, taking an Iron Tail for very little damage, and since he missed with his first Hypnosis, I'm able to get to +4, and then to +6 after taking a second Iron Tail before finally firing off a Surf, bringing him into the red after taking a third Iron Tail. This puts Rapidash into healing range, so I'm just able to heal lock him, surfing until it goes down. Second out is Steelix, and despite it not having Sturdy, it may as well have it, since Surf can't seem to one-shot it. Very frustrating to be missing a range by literally 1 HP, but I do manage to get by it with full HP intact, going into Lopunny. This thing's a bit of a quirky one, seeing as he's got Mirror Coat, but thanks to that, I can sort of mess with the AI, swapping between a special attack and the useless Acid Armor to drop his power points, and continuing to do damage, though Ice Beam doesn't really do much in the face of leftovers healing every turn. But once he misses with a high jump kick, I'm able to freeze him solid with Ice Beam, finishing him off with Surf. 2 more and Drifblim's out next, which can be a real pain if it starts getting set up. Will-O-Wisp is used to negate my leftovers recovery, but afterwards he starts going for Minimize. But that's not much of a worry at first, as Ice Beam once again gets the freeze on Drifblim, giving me the easy out to it and preventing the baton pass of +6 evasion over Infernape. That would have been a nightmare, but with that avoided, 2 Surfs is all that it takes to take down the beast, giving me the third of 5 victories needed with 0 losses. I'm feeling good, but this is the same position I was in during my Water Nuzlocke. I need to be extra careful against Lucian. One of the things that I was worried about was, oddly enough, Girafarig, seeing as I figured Haunter would be a fantastic sweeper against Lucian, and I needed something that could hit a normal type. Thankfully, the TM for Dark Pulse was available in the Victory Road, so I grabbed that before coming in here, slapping it on now over Psychic, since that's not going to be useful at all here. Lucian starts with Mr. Mime, so I go with Haunter, using 2 Shadow Balls as he uses Light Screen to KO, but that's honestly crazy. Despite a stat well north of 200 special attack, Haunter is still unable to one-shot with a Stab, Spooky Plate boosted Shadow Ball. Maybe I need to rethink this. I swapped into Skuntank upon Alakazam coming in, tanking a Shockwave and KOing with Night Slash next turn to put me up 6-3. Medicham is out third, and I'm expecting a high jump kick right about now, so I swapped into Crobat, dodging it and causing him to crash, KOing with Fly in 2 turns. Well, this is going better than expected, despite being derailed from the Haunter sweep early on, but upon Girafarig coming in, I realized that I could still do a bit of sweeping, so I used U-turn, doing half damage and going into Skuntank to set it up. See, I have this combo of Toxic and Venom Drench, the latter being a status move that lowers the opponent's attack, special attack, and speed. This lets me wean this thing down, wasting Lucian's full restores and allowing my Dustox to come in, set up Quiver Dance, and go to town with Bug Buzz, KOing Girafarig and going into Bronzong with +6 special attack, special defense, and speed. Bug Buzz is still the move of choice, but even while boosted with the Insect Plate, it only does around half, letting him go for Gyro Ball and nearly one-shotting if it weren't for the power of love. My Bug would like to fight another day, so I swapped out for my paralyzed Skuntank, taking a Gyro Ball and clicking Night Slash, doing massive damage on turn 1 and bringing Bronzong into red HP territory. Bronzong also goes for Earthquakes, knocking Skuntank down to 1 HP, hanging on also due to the power of love, leaving me with no other choice but to go into Crobat on Earthquake and pick up the KO with U-turn, winning the fight. That was really close. I could have lost 2 of my most important team members there, but thanks to this game being extremely kind and sparing me, I might actually have a chance against Cynthia. Last minute preparations are to be done, but once everything has the appropriate TMs and held items, I'm ready to head into the Champion's throne room. You may have scarred me before, vile woman, but now I will end your reign of tyranny. Cynthia leads with Spiritomb, and I go straight for Skuntank. I'm not wasting time. Toxic, 6 Venom Drenches, swap into Dustox on the full restore turn, 6 Quiver Dances and a few Roosts to keep Dustox at full HP, and it is sweeping time. Though, sweep is a relative term, since even Dustox at +6 special attack cannot get a one-shot without a critical, but a crit Bug Buzz is able to take out Spiritomb, leading to Gastrodon. This is the most bulky Pokemon on Cynthia's team, and despite Rock Tomb being super effective, it does less than half, letting me KO with 2 Psychics. I'm up 6-4, this is looking pretty sweet as my Milotic comes in, but I've got to be careful. This thing has Mirror Coat, so I made sure to Roost to bait the Mirror Coat, swapping to Bug Buzz next turn as she went for Scald. Now that she's below half, I can safely hit the second Bug Buzz for the KO, with Lucario taking her place. Psychic is nearly a one-shot, but even at +6 with a Mind Plate, I still can't get that one-shot unless it's a high roll. But after a full restore, I get said high roll, taking out Lucario. Roserade takes the field 5th and immediately falls to Psychic, thanks to being weak to the type, since we all know if it was neutral, Dustox could get the job done. But it's time. The final frontier, Garchomp vs Dustox. Who will win this ultimate showdown of Ultimate Destiny? Dustox outspeeds, firing off a Bug Buzz for over half as Garchomp fires back with an Earthquake that's sure to KO Dustox, but again due to the power of love, Dustox dodges, allowing me to hit one more Bug Buzz for the KO and the win, taking the championship and declaring myself the Poison-type master of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. I've gotta say, it's absolutely gut-bustingly hilarious that I just swept the champion with a friggin' Dustox of all things, but honestly, Venom Drench came in clutch. And to make a bit of a serious note here, the affection thing, I have no clue how to control that. I think you just get it from having your Pokemon in your party since I didn't have them outside of their Pokeballs at all, which does make things a little easier, but hey, if Cynthia gets to have Flame Orb, Marvel Scale, Mirror Coat Milotic, then I get to have a little bit of power of my own. Anyway, if you liked what you saw, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later with some more awesome content. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, click the bell, tell a friend, and don't spend more than a minute doing that, since if you are, you're taking too long. I want to give a huge shout out to my $10 and above patrons, Justin Dimmenstein, Heimflow, Sean McKay, Alexander Abday, Andon Brannon, Andy, Casper Kirkpatrick, Jacob Johnson, Kyle Campbell, and Sinnoh. Thank you so much for your support. If you'd like to support as well, you can head over to my Patreon page, link in the description, where you can get access to stuff like videos early, an exclusive role in my Discord server, link also in the description, challenge requests, and much more. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this, and I'll see you guys next time with another challenge. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.